I am Hardcore Smitty, and this is the Degenerate Nation podcast. Welcome, everybody. I spent 20 years inside America's prison system. I went in as a cocaine addict, and I came out a heroin addict. I saw men broken. I saw men changed into somebody they never intended to be. I saw the machine keep running, no matter how many lives it crushed. Today, we are going to talk about the powers that be and a complete reimagining of how we handle crime, punishment, drugs, and addiction in this country. Not tweaks, not reforms, a paradigm shift. Because the system isn't broken, it's working exactly as it's designed to work. The question is, what if we designed something better? So, let's start with the money. Between $80 and $100 billion flows through the correction system annually. That's just corrections. That doesn't include courts, policing, or the DEA. Now, I want you to sit with that number for a moment. $80 to $100 billion. That's too much money flowing through the hands of too many powerful people just to disappear. Prison guard unions, private prison corporations, food service contractors, healthcare companies, phone call providers charging families 25 cents a minute just to hear their son's voice. All of them have a vested interest in keeping those cells full. When you have that much money in the line, you don't get reform, you get expansion. You get more prisons, you get longer sentences, you get the drug war continuing even though it's been a catastrophic failure for 50 years. The money is the reason we can't close prisons. The money is the reason the DEA fights legalization. The money is the reason treatment never gets properly funded. This is not about safety, this is about profit. But here's what they don't want you to realize. We can shift that money. We can reimagine what it means to spend $80 to $100 billion on public safety. What if we turn prisons into mental health hospitals? What if we retrained correctional officers, giving them the same pay, the same pension, the same benefits to work as mentors instead of guards? What if the DEA pivoted from enforcement to monitoring drug purity, stopping deadly batches from hitting the streets? The infrastructure exists, the budget exists. The only thing missing is the will to change the mission. Here's a scenario I've lived 100 times. A person in crisis. Maybe they're having a psychotic break. Maybe they're high. Maybe they're just desperate. Someone calls 911. Armed police officers show up. Now, I'm not saying police are bad people. Many of them take that job for good reasons. But the uniform, the gun, the badge, that doesn't inspire trust. It inspires fear. When you're already scared, your mind is already in chaos. An armed man in a uniform isn't going to de-escalate you. It's going to spike your adrenaline. You know what might work? A forensic peer specialist. Someone who's been where you are, who's lived the addiction or the mental illness, who knows what it's like to be on that side of the door. Someone who you can look at and say, hey, I know, I've been there too. Let's figure this out together. We tried tough on crime. It didn't work. 50 years of mass incarceration and drug prohibition. And we have more people locked up than any country on earth. We have 2 million prisoners. We have overdose deaths climbing every year. What if we tried something radically different? What if we treated addiction and crime as what they are, symptoms of a larger issue, not moral failings? You see, when a person is suffering, they need care. They need someone to see them, not just process them. You can't process a human being into wellness. You can only love them into it. Let me tell you something. It took me years to understand. Addiction is a spiritual ailment. It's caused by trauma, abuse, neglect, and a lack of resources. You don't wake up one day and decide to become an addict. You wake up every day trying to survive. The drugs quiet the noise. They block out the memories. They protect you from a world that's already hurt you more than you can bear. I've seen it. I've lived it. I entered prison a cocaine user and left a heroin addict. The system didn't heal me. It upgraded my addiction. It exposed me to the more dangerous drugs, more trauma, more of everything I was trying to escape. When the cities along the Ohio River were deindustrialized, when the factories closed and jobs disappeared, something had to fill that void. Crack came first, then opioids. People who had nothing left were trying to numb the pain of being abandoned by the very society that promised them the American dream. That is not a moral failing. That is a survival strategy. And when we treat it like crime, We just make it worse. You can't arrest your way out of a spiritual problem. You can only love your way through it. In 2001, Portugal decriminalized all drugs. Not legalized, decriminalized. If you got caught with drugs, you didn't go to prison. You went to a commission. Doctors, social workers, lawyers, who determined if you needed treatment, counseling, or just a fine. The results? Drug use actually dropped. HIV infections plummeted. Overdose death collapsed. Crime dropped 89% overnight. 89 fucking percent. Now here's the thing I want you to understand about that. When you take away the stigma of drugs, you allow people their dignity. And when a person has dignity, they want more of it. They start to see themselves as someone worth saving. They start making better choices. Not because they're forced to, because they believe they deserve better. I understand that prisons don't want to close. I understand the DEA doesn't want to dismantle itself. There are careers, pensions, entire industries built on the war on drugs. But we can shift that $100 billion into care. We can shift it into love. We can take the same men and women who are currently locking people up and train them to save people instead. Portugal proved it can be done. The question is whether we have the courage to try. Mass incarceration is not about protecting citizens. It is about dealing with the fallout of prohibition. It's about managing a population that's been criminalized for their poverty, their addiction, their mental illness, and sometimes just the color of their skin. But what if we turn prisons into something else entirely? Picture this. Prisons become vocational training centers. Instead of stamping license plates for pennies, people learn welding, plumbing, education, electrical work, computer coding, skills that can actually support them when they get out. Picture this. Prisons become transitional housing. Instead of dumping people in the street with $40 in a bus ticket, you actually help them transition back into society. You find them a job. You find them a place to live. You give them a chance. Picture this. We create citizenship centers for the immigrants. Not detention camps. Centers where people can learn English, learn American civics, learn that well-being of their neighbors is expected. We offer them a path, not a cage. I'm not talking about being soft on crime. I'm talking about being smart. Because what we're doing now isn't working. It's costing us billions, destroying communities and making us less safe. By treating and educating, we can keep a good kid from being radicalized in prison. By investing in people, we can break the cycle of violence. By caring for each other, we can build a society that doesn't need to lock up 2 million of its citizens. Here's something they never tell you in prison. The prisoners already have the power, all of them. They just don't realize it. In prison, they divide us by race. They let gangs form. They encourage the segregation because the united population is a threat. If all the white prisoners and the black prisoners and the brown prisoners realize they have the same problems, bad food, abusive guards, no health care, endless brutality, they could change everything. All it would take is nothing, absolutely nothing. No work. No programs, no school, no yard, no rec, no library. Just total refusal to participate in the machine. Think about it. Prisoners run the prison. They cook the food, they wash the laundry, they clean the halls, they do all the labor. If 2,000 men simply stopped, the system would collapse. The state would have to pay overtime, they'd have to hire outside workers, it would bankrupt them. The best part, there's no violence, no riots for the media to demonize, just a peaceful, coordinated refusal. They'd have to negotiate. They'd have to give in to our demands. If we focused on our similarities instead of our differences, we'd be unstoppable. We wouldn't need violence. We wouldn't need weapons. We just need to stop doing their work for them. You know what the beautiful thing is? We already have all the pieces. We have correctional officers who are tired of being enforcers. We have police officers who want to protect your communities, not just police them. We have DEA agents who know the war on drugs is lost. We have politicians who are starting to see the light. We have communities that are tired of being terrorized by the very system that's supposed to protect them. All we need is a shift. A shift in how we see each other. A shift in how we understand crime and punishment. A shift in how we define safety. Safety isn't about building more prisons. Safety is about building stronger communities. Safety is about making sure every person has a place to sleep, food to eat, work that matters, and people who care about them. Mass incarceration isn't working. The drug war isn't working. Treating addiction like crime isn't working. Treating mental illness like a crime isn't working. We tried tough on crime for 50 years. All it got us was 2 million prisoners, devastated communities, and government spending 80 to 100 billion every year to keep people in cages. What if we tried love instead? I spent 20 years in prison. I watched men break. I watched men become something they never wanted to be. I watched the system chew up the vulnerable and spit them out harder, more dangerous, more broken. And I made it out. Yes, I made it out, but I can't forget the young man in the hole, clearly mentally ill, locked up for shoplifting, given a misconduct ticket for being sick, having his food loaf crumbled up and thrown at him by a guard. He didn't need punishment. He needed help. I have a daughter who lives with schizophrenia. Every day I see her tormented by things I can't see, can't fix, can't make better. And I realize that young man in the hole was someone's son, someone's brother, maybe someone's father. We have to do better. We have to be better. We have to stop treating people like problems to be managed and start treating them like human beings to be loved. The money's there, the infrastructure's there, the people are there. All we need is the will to reimagine what's possible. This is your invitation to see the world differently, to see each other differently, to stop looking for enemies and start looking for neighbors. Because the system only works when we're divided, when we're suspicious, when we're afraid. But when we love each other, when we see ourselves in each other, the whole thing crumbles. And that's not a disaster, that's liberation. Thank you for listening. I'm Hardcore Smitty, and this has been Reimagining Crime and Punishment. If you will continue this conversation, if you want to share your story, or you just need someone to listen, reach out. We're stronger together than we are apart. We'll see you next time. Hardcore Smitty. Nobody told you to love you today? I do. I'm out.